That's awesome. So before we get into what you're doing, a little bit about
Sure.
you and your background, and then we'll go down some rabbit holes.
Sure. Happy to give a nutshell version of it. It's long and twisted and windy. Started indeed, as you said, in sort of corporate intelligence, otherwise known as sort of corporate espionage, which I guess is the more darker cousin of that, where I was helping organizations identify and collect and solicit intelligence that was beneficial to their bottom line, either by getting information that would allow them to make better deals, compete more aggressively. Every now and then, intellectual property races would be one based on that kind of effort. So, pretty interesting stuff. A lot of this was performed overseas. I was in places like Dubai, France, England, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, places like that, where there was a lot of big deals at stake, long term propositions that required a lot of long term projects that would result in the information resulting in a win or a loss, hopefully a win. And then in the early 2000s, I pivoted my firm into being a counterintelligence company for a variety of reasons. But one main one was that the world shifted its general focus not away from competitive intelligence, because that's going to probably always exist. It's always been and always will. But security and the level of concern around sabotage and hacking started to grow. And literally one day over lunch with a friend of mine, we talked about it. And he said, you literally could go to the clients you have right now and say, I can protect you from exactly the same thing that I do for you from other groups that are similar to mine. And I'm sure they'd bite. And I said, well, it's worth a shot. It's an interesting proposition. And lo and behold, every one of them did. They said, yeah, that's a terrifying proposition if there was another version of you and your team out there doing this against us. So if you can give us a heads up on what they might be doing or how we could preemptively limit that exposure, we'll buy it. And so my company pivoted in that direction. I did that for about 10 years. So it was consultative, right? So there's no product
Mhm.
really with that. It's really selling services. And then in 2010, I built a company that was my first truly cyber product or SaaS product company called Unvalence. That company was defensive in nature, almost, as I've said in plenty of other podcasts, more offensive in nature, which a lot of people find controversial. But we were taking down infrastructure the adversary was setting up to and helping identify who was victimized by those hackers. I sold that company to a company called Mandiant, which is fairly well known in the industry. This is Mandiant before it took various other iterations on. It was sold to FireEye, then it was sold to Google more recently. Stayed there for about a year and a half, and then left and traveled the world a little bit with my family. And subsequently have started several other companies.